Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's been a minute. I haven't really recorded anything in, I think, in about almost close to a year. But this segment of the podcast, I wanted to talk about something in particular that actually a lot of young aspiring professionals and a lot of, I guess, young adults, I can call them now, fresh out of high school, wanted to ask me. What does it take to actually land the quote-unquote dream job that they aspire to have? Well, first and foremost, to me, having the dream job doesn't necessarily mean monetary rewards. There's a lot of aspiring professionals that actually achieve that level, but I think bottom line is, in order for you to land the job, that it's not going to just compensate you handsomely, but is also going to fulfill you, is you have to actually explore different avenues of whatever professional whatever profession, should I say, is gonna, I guess, inspire you to wake up every day and actually motivate you to do something different, to reinvent yourself. Because here's the thing, is the main problem with that I've been seeing with today's generation, especially the young professionals from ages maybe 18 to about maybe mid-20s, a little over the cusp, but they have this problem with not enjoying the process. They want the immediate outcome. They want instant gratification. And it would be nice if that can all be possible, but truth is that doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen like that. And I think I'm 37 years old, so us, as me being, I guess, I'm what a lot of journalists call a xennial. So what a xennial is I believe it's the date of birth dates are from 1977 to about 1981, around there. Before that, it was Generation X, but we are one of the last generations before Gen X that remembers growing up without technology. I know I have fond memories of not growing up without technology, and at the same time embracing it when it did show up. So our generation has to basically, I'm not going to say set the standard, but at least inspire these young professionals to know that, hey, there is a lot of footwork to be done. It doesn't come right away. I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's technology. Maybe it's the way it's been magnifying all these issues and a lot of these successes as well. But I think it's up to us to really not lecture, but differentiate, like, hey, this is what it was like back then, and it's totally different now. Like, we can't be that old person saying, hey, well, back in my day, we used to do this. No, it doesn't work with this generation anymore, and everyone thinks it's because they're pussified. I beg to differ, because we had our issues in the 90s as well. And it's not because we were pussified, and it wasn't because other people were pussified. It's because the perception changes, and it's because not just the technology, but also the world and its current events, especially locally. But the point that I'm getting to is, we as older adults need to continue to inspire a lot of these young professionals, especially the really young ones. From 18, 19, 20, 21. Not to say that we're not going to inspire the older adults, but still, it's like you have to compare and contrast what it means to actually put in work. I'm never going to use this word anymore because it's so old school when it comes to saying paying your dues. I feel like we have to reinvent the wheel and say something different. Instead of saying paying your dues, I like to say get off your lazy ass and actually work. That's a little bit more straightforward. It's less metaphorical, but Because the only metaphor I can ever use, and a lot of people get it, and I'm going to use this metaphor right now. Say, for example, in any profession, say a photographer. Someone wants to be a professional photographer, and they want to be a professional photographer. Well, in order for you to be a professional photographer, you need a lot of quote unquote freelance, paid or unpaid pro bono work for you to actually get all those amateur credits under your belt. Same applies with a sport, for example. I use photography a lot, but I'm gonna use I'm gonna use martial arts, for example. I'm gonna use boxing. So someone wants to be a professional boxer. Okay, so everyone knows in order to be a professional boxer, you have to be very good. Very good. Same applies with every other sport. But what does it take to be a professional boxer? Well, first and foremost, you got to train for it. Most people, to them, the gym is the school. For most people, you know, their personal trainer is their mentor. Of course, they do serve as a mentor because that's what they're there for. They're a coach. But how in the world can you become a professional boxer when you don't have any amateur fights under your belt? It's almost impossible. I mean, not a whole lot of people can just waltz in to a new sport, try it out. And what I'm trying to say, not everyone can be like a Brock Lesnar, for example, that went from professional wrestling to mixed martial arts and become a UFC heavyweight champion. And that's because of sheer athleticism. Not everyone's gifted like that. But so you're trying to be a professional boxer. You have all these amateur fights. I mean, eventually, if you keep going and the momentum of all these amateur fights you got going on carries you into this flow state that eventually leads you to an opportunity to make your professional debut. Now, a lot of people don't know about this thing called flow state because it's, you know, quite frankly, not a whole lot of people talk about it. But the flow state in any profession is basically you reach, you know, I have a difficult time kind of dumbing down what state is. But what it is basically a frame of mind. I guess I can say that. You reach a point in your psyche that it's a fucking freight train and nothing can stop it. That's the best thing I can compare it to in the flow state. You reach flow state in the gym when you're working out. You reach flow state when you're writing or cranking out a fucking 20-page term paper. You reach flow state when you're running, especially a lot of joggers. I know that. And you reach flow state when you're driving on the freeway or even on the road and you hit every fucking green light, which is a damn fucking miracle. I mean, that's flow state right there. And another flow state could be you go on a date and everything just goes right. That's a flow state. Now, it's almost impossible to reach that 100%, but you can damn get close to it. So how do you reach a flow state? Well, a lot of it is mentally training yourself to not doubt yourself. That's for sure. A lot of young professionals have to fight that because it's very well known that our brain is about 2 million years old or some shit like that. But fuck, with time the more I read, the more I educate myself on what the brain does and how it works. It's designed to make you feel like shit. So it's designed to fight or flight. So a lot of young minds actually have that very early on, and they don't know how to control it, and they don't know how to exercise it, because the brain is a muscle, so you have to train it to do certain things and then keep the flow state remaining at a constant pace, so that way you can build that muscle memory with your brain. And it's tough because I had to learn that very, very early and very forcefully because I played in music groups for so long. And when shit wasn't going right with the group, you know right away that the flow state has not even begun. So you have to force yourself, like instead of saying, oh, we're having a shitty practice, You have to find ways to make things work. You gotta activate things. And I think for a lot of people, they have a difficult time with that because they don't know how to make it crack. They don't know how to spark it. So that's the magic of it. How do you make the invisible and make it visible? That's part of the schematic of flow state. But the only thing I can recommend and then this is getting back to the original question, the only thing I could recommend for someone to achieve their dream job or achieve their dream results is you have to build momentum to that flow state, and eventually you have to show face and you have to have a personality. I hate to say that, but also part of this flow state, and I hate to say this because not a whole lot of people have the personality that everyone is attracted to. And that goes without saying. You don't have to be phony. You don't have to be ingenuine. You don't have to be fake. But everyone knows there's very little personalities that people that people favor. That don't favor, excuse me. But because they're very limited. I mean, just shitty people are shitty people, and people don't want to be attracted to those people. But what I'm trying to say is to ultimately achieve what you want to accomplish, especially with the workforce, is you have to start with not just, momentum and not just all these amateur fights that I'm speaking about metaphorically, but you have to also help other people. That's part of the flow state. As much as you, of course, you want to help yourself, and once you're comfortable doing that, you have to start helping somebody else out. For some reason, I don't know what it is, and this is me not being too metaphysical or anything like that, that actually spins a revolving door of prosperity. So every time you're thinking, me, why me? What is this for me? Take a step back and, try to help somebody else out. Try to help them, create a massive action plan, for example. For some reason, when it's not cracking for yourself, take a step back and help somebody else out. For some reason, it just starts to help. And also the fundamental stuff, like looking good on paper, looking to see what opportunities you can actually take up without being too out of your league. I mean, I always say out of your league, but sometimes you're offered a job that you quite frankly can get simply because of your personality. I've seen that plenty of times. You get it because you're personable, you're coachable, you're a sponge. But then there's quite the contrary. If you seem like a dick, you come off as arrogant, you come off as a fucking prude, then yeah, no one's going to want to work with you. So I'll go into this more later in a more extensive podcast, but I wanted to share that with you because there's no right or wrong answer. I just want to let people know, like, in order for you to succeed in anything, you have to help yourself first, because people like seeing that shit. And then if for some reason, don't force anything, and if you're noticing that you're forcing yourself to do something all the time and it's not working, and you're expecting different results, of course, that's the definition of insanity. Take a step back and help somebody else out in the meantime and see where that gets you. And I almost guarantee you that at least you'll develop some momentum to reach that flow state. And if you want to read more about flow state, you can Google search it and you'll find it, believe me. So, that's all I got for now. I'll talk about it more later. So, fuck all y'all.